Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. We are continuing our journey through Lyme 5, the book I helped write at Life Dynamics. I have to apologize for our really crappy endnotes. They were not very professionally done. We would just put the court case number. We wouldn't put so-and-so versus so-and-so to make it easy to look up. But if you follow the link to the companion post, I do list which sources I need. Crutcher has them all at Life Dynamics. They're in the filing cabinets. In fact, they're probably covered with my notes and highlights. They're there. But this section started with a death I'd somehow lost track of after leaving Life Dynamics. Cindy was 17 years old when she traveled from her home in Iowa for a safe legal abortion in California. And she suffered injuries resulting in acute cardiac insufficiency and was pronounced dead July 16, 1969. The next case was Sarah Lint, a 22-year-old co-ed who went for a safe legal abortion at San Vicente Hospital in Los Angeles on August 11th of 1970. She went into ventricular fibrillation soon after the abortion. That's when your heart kind of just quivers and doesn't really pump any blood. The technique used on her, hysterotomy, was with a high mortality rate. It's similar to a C-section, but you're just intending to let the baby die of prematurity. San Vicente was only an abortion hospital. It wasn't a real hospital. The staff treated Sarah for about an hour before they transferred her to a hospital down the street where she died on August 12th. And San Vicente is where 5 other women underwent their fatal abortions. Natalie Myers in 72, Mary Pena in 84, Lenise Dorsey in 86, and Joyce Ortenzio in 88, and Oriane Shevin in 2005. And then Mark notes 3 cases from an article, Maternal Mortality Associated with Legal Abortion in New York State, July 1st, 1970 through June 30th, 1972. A 25-year-old New York woman that we called Kimberly went into cardiac arrest and died during an abortion performed December 23rd, 1970. A 44-year-old woman we called Audrey went into cardiac arrest during a first trimester abortion July 1st, 1971 and died. And a 31-year-old woman we called Connie died from cardiac arrest during an abortion on March 8th, 1972. Then we go back to California. 31-year-old Mitsu Mohar went to Tacoma Lutheran Hospital in Los Angeles for a safe legal abortion in 1975. The DNC was performed under general anesthesia, and after the abortion, Mitsu went to convulsions. They kept her at Tacoma Lutheran Hospital for 16 days. She didn't regain consciousness. She was transferred to LA County USC Medical Center, where she died September 10th without ever regaining consciousness. The autopsy found that she'd suffered hypoxic encephalopathy due to cardiac arrest during the abortion and developed the pneumonia, which eventually killed her. And I noticed that I spelled the name of the hospital wrong. Then we have a case that I wrote up. This was from the Centers for Disease Control, a woman who was 36 years old named that we call Gloria. Her doctor told her that x-rays she'd had might have harmed her unborn baby, and she dragged her feet for about 5 weeks before finally undergoing the abortion. The doctor decided this should have been, it was a highly risky kind of abortion to begin with, a prostaglandin abortion, which is when they inject prostaglandin into the amniotic fluid, and it causes contractions so intense that they typically would kill the fetus. Sometimes actually decapitate the fetus, sometimes make the woman's uterus rip open or her cervix tear off. None of those things had a chance to happen to Gloria because she stopped breathing shortly after the prostaglandin was administered. The doctor performed CPR before he transferred her to a hospital. They were able to get her heart going again, but she was left comatose. More vegetative. She would respond to pain, but she could only move her arms. Her legs were paralyzed, and she lingered for 5 months before she died. Linda Lovelace was 21 years old when she underwent an abortion at an undisclosed facility in Tennessee. Her uterus was perforated, which caused sepsis, and she went into shock and finally cardiac arrest. And we have Dawn Mack, who was 21 when she went for an abortion at National Abortion Federation member Eastern Women's Center in New York. Her oxygen saturations dropped during the abortion. The anesthesiologist administered more oxygen. Her oxygen level went up to normal. They declared her stable, moved her to the recovery room where she was not adequately monitored. When somebody finally noticed she was pulseless and not breathing, they didn't have the equipment they needed for resuscitation handy. They had to have a doctor bring it while they performed CPR. He brought her back to the operating room, intubated her, began professional level CPR. They didn't transfer her to a hospital until nearly an hour after they noticed she wasn't breathing, and she was pronounced dead that afternoon. And this is the same hospital where Dawn Ravenel and Venus Ortiz underwent their fatal abortions. And at last we have a non-fatal case from Lubbock County, Texas. This was just so bizarre. This woman we called Rena had an abortion performed on October 21st of 1986, and as she was walking through the waiting room, she collapsed, cardiorespiratory arrest. They performed CPR, revived her, and sent her home. Hello? Don't you send her to the hospital to find out why she stopped breathing and her heart stopped beating? She continued to bleed heavily and pass clots for days and days and days, and they kept telling her it was just her period. She finally wound up going to a hospital where they did a D&C to remove the last of the retained tissue. Fortunately, Rena survived. So if you follow the link to the companion post below, you can get a list of what substantiating documents I need copies of, because the ones I wrote up the cases from are in Mark Crutcher's filing cabinets, and he's not about to give them to me.